Hello and good evening, class. I'm Anthony Lopez, and first and foremost, congratulations. We did it. We made it through to the final stage of our season journey, and here's our final. Professor Molina, as you requested, today I will be sharing my final with everybody. Hopefully, you guys can see my screen. Let's get started. So, welcome to the final project. I'm going to go ahead. So we're going to start off by talking about the guy who impacted, Latino, or as we call it now, Latinx journalism, and that is Ruben Salazar. So here's the history of Latino journalism. Ruben Salazar was, and some may argue is still, a staple hero for the majority of the Latinx population. He accomplished a variety of things, such as having the ability to easily build rapport with both Ivy League educated politicians and migrant farm workers. He broke the mold at a time when most reporters were white men. He also advocated for the K through 12 system, education, and wanted to voice and create stories about police brutality. According to some stats, 22% of people killed in the Vietnam War were Hispanics, so that was roughly 5%. Salazar also became the first Latino foreign correspondent and the first Latino columnist. And we'll talk more about that as I move on. Lastly, he sparked the Chicano moratorium, an event on August 29th, 1970, where more than 20,000 demonstrators marched through East LA for the National Chicano moratorium against the Vietnam War. But the protest was for peace. It was mainly, hey, we need more Latinx journalists, we want to get recognized. But it, as mentioned here, it started a conflict between demonstrators and sheriff deputies. And before I go to what is the problem, Ruben was at a bar, as Professor Molina stated, and he was shot in the head. Very tragic, but his legacy will live on, and future Latino journalists will hopefully carry on his legacy and his message. So, what is the problem? Why are there so many limited, Latinx journalists and so forth? It's because today we are still seeing how many problems such as race play a role for many who strive to get promoted and to fight to obtain a high-end position with a certain business. The truth is that America and its companies, whether it be entertainment, sports, and politics, are, predominantly white. Yet the white men who are CEOs have the major roles, and it makes it hard for people of color to obtain and get higher job opportunities and wages. If you're Latino going into a white owned industry, you will probably get paid less. But on the bright side, one can say that in today's economy, diversity is a bit more present and widespread throughout. And so here of the guidelines, we're going to discuss how the industry or what the industry can do to change and improve diversity. I, as a Latino, strongly believe that we need more advocacy. We need to show people our talents, how we are very dedicated. Throughout this whole senior project class, we learned how we can obtain skills such as, communication. Education is the number one skill that we need to obtain, get degrees, just show people that we're very capable of, working with predominantly white people. And I want to move on to the Google form. So earlier in the semester, Professor Molina gave us a little assignment, a midterm per se. He wanted us to make a Google form and send it out to, local newspapers. For example, our group got the Santa Clarita Signal. And we just wanted to see what was the percentage of Latinx people working in that industry. So let me go ahead and share some stuff. To answer the question, like I said, in regards to my findings for the Google form, I would say that it was rather difficult to get responses from journalists from certain companies and newsrooms. Based on the responses I got, like I said, from the Santa Clarita Signal, Professor Tim White, who is the chief editor there, responded. He had said that, yes, he does believe newsroom reflects the diversity of your community. So that was 50%. And then the other Um, he left it anonymous, so we don't know who his name was, but he said 50% no. So we had a yes and a no. But that goes to show that, based on this survey, there's not a lot of people who really want to share their stats, or they just want to keep it private. They don't really care about race and so forth. We can make a whole long argument, but it just sucks that not a lot of people are, advocating as much for fair jobs. All in all, I want to move on to the main goal on what I learned this semester. Over the past few months, I have had the privilege to investigate and study slash deep dive into why Latinx journalists are not getting the praise they deserve. In our senior project class, Professor Joshua Molina does a fantastic job of going into detail and in depth about how Latinx journalists are severely underrepresented in newsrooms and within the media. We read a ton of articles this semester. We, reached out, conducted some interviews with, Latinx chief editors or editors in chief, excuse me, just some very high end professionals. So, as I was reading an article, I wanted to include that a 2021 UCLA study stated that Latinx community makes up 48% of LA County's population. That's very, very low. And if you think that's low, popular magazines such as, or news stations such as the Los Angeles Times, Latinos only make up 11.1% of the editorial board, which is very, very, very low. And in conclusion, conditions definitely, I would say, nowadays have slightly improved, but if we're keeping it on the positive side, they definitely have improved for journalists because we see the ability to interview, interact, and become successful in journalism, regardless of race. Sure, in the media field, there is still a high percentage of people, such as whites, who are more successful than others, but I think, and I strongly believe, Latinos and African Americans are on the rise. Um, I think they're going to make a huge impact for future generations, give their insight. And one thing about us is that we, can tell the truth straight up. We will provide facts and so forth. And my final remarks is, at least it is safe to say that journalism and diversity within the newsroom is currently and will always be growing each and every day. And before I close this meeting, I want to say, Professor Molina, I appreciate everything you taught me. I am very, very blessed and fortunate to have had a full and whole semester of learning just about my culture, about how we are on the rise. As I mentioned, we will continue to provide the full picture, study hard, and nothing is impossible. I think times will change in a positive way. We're going to go upwards. And it was great. I had so much fun this semester. It was early coming into class, but it was worth it. I appreciate everything you've done for me, Professor. And to the students who are watching this, we did it. Congratulations. I wish you luck in, I wish each of you guys luck in your journey. And we got this. That's all, folks.